What's up, witches?
What's up, witches? I'm Linda,
And I'm John,
and this is Getting Witchy.
and this is just tea.
Yes, it's just tea.
Yes. Um, yeah, and this is getting witchy, and it's a little darker, because, well, we wanted to take a break from the research. Linda is doing research on our upcoming numerology
Series.
series. Series. Um, and I am doing the first of several follow-up videos. The first one will be on the Sumerian pantheon. And yeah, I attempted to watch the episode 43. Um, and we gave some good information, but there's so much more. There's so much more. So that's actually the follow-up is not going to be a part two. It's going to be a series, part two, the series, if you will. Because just on Inanna or is it Ishtar, um, as she became to be or came to be known, that's like 3 pages by itself.
Right.
Um, so, or because of the influence that that figure had, but I'm still having a hard time finding info about that because from episode 1, we've welcomed you to talk about all things magical, Wicca, witchcraft, aliens, supernatural. Um, and there's an interesting storyline behind the Anunnaki. But anyway, so we decided to take a break on that and do an episode on
We're telling ghost stories.
ghostly encounters, things that have happened, even if it's just like a which has happened lots, because we've had a couple cats and all of them have well, all but one passed in our arms.
Yes.
One passed in the house after being in your arms for like 45 minutes. It He went to his space where he slept and fell asleep and didn't wake up. Um, so everything from like a nudge, I'm sitting here playing a video game and I'll feel like the nudge of like a cat coming up and brushing
Rubbing
against you. Um, and even a couple times, or at least once, um, I reached down to pet because it was that real.
Recent and
Well, it
that
was that
real.
real at the time. I reached down to pet it and I was like, oh, okay. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight a little bit, to take a break from all the research because it's a lot. Um, anyway.
So yeah, grab your drink and snack, pull up a chair, and join us in our living room as we get ghostly. So do you want to start?
No, you can.
I can. Okay. Well, I've experienced ghostly or spiritual encounters in basically every house I've lived in since I can remember. Um, First house that I remember living in was in Laverne, California. Um, and it was a very compartmentalized house. Like there was a hallway that led to all the bedrooms and the bathrooms, but there was a door that could close. So like
Where
if you
was the in the hallway?
in the hallway,
Like
so to
would
separate,
block the hallway off
yes.
completely?
So if you were
Okay.
entertaining in the living room, kitchen, dining area, you could shut that door, and anyone who was in that hallway or the bedrooms would not even hear anything that was going on.
And so that's like a dead zone.
Yeah.
Interesting.
As long as the door was closed.
Right.
Um, and I remember like that's what my parents would do whenever we had people over, is they would shut that door. So unless somebody had to use the restroom, like that door was closed. But I remember experiencing stuff there. I remember the house that my mom, my sisters, and I lived in while my parents were separated. Um, I remember I was at home with chicken pox for like 2 weeks, so I was home by myself during the day, and nobody else in the house. And my, those rubber balls we would use for dodgeball.
Yeah, yeah.
I had one of
I've
those.
had many marks from those
So
growing
I
up.
had one of those, and it came bouncing down the stairs.
Oh, like in Poltergeist, was that no, oh, no, that was The Shining. It was rolling down the hallway.
Yeah. Um, but when you're 8 years old and you're by yourself.
Well, I've had a situation, you just remind, I had a situation like that too, but it was one of those, it I think a beach ball, but a smaller beach
Oh, like
ball.
the little.
And I mean, it's possible AC turned on, but it was in a regular home, so the AC is up above. The ball was on the floor.
Right.
And it just rolled its happy ass across, and there were multiple things. Well, that was the house on Cresthaven where I saw the little girl. So I was maybe 9, 10 years old. Maybe a little bit older, actually, because my brother was a baby, but he apparently slept through the night, or my mother had somebody watching him separately, but I was home alone. And she worked at nights as a bartender.
Right.
Back then they called them barmaids.
Yes, after bar wench, but before bartender.
No, but they called them barmaids. That was a weird. But anyway, so she got this new job. I think the place was called Ponytail, and it may still be in business in Pompano Beach, Florida. And I was sitting there. It was a weekend, and I was up watching TV probably about midnight, 1 o'clock, and she had already been at work. So I'm watching, and I may have been watching something scary, probably something sci-fi or ridiculously sci-fi scary. Back in those days, they had some really cheesy shit. But all of a sudden, there's this little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, and not quite Victorian, but like your Sunday best, white and blue dress, like springtime kind of thing. But she was kind of palish, and not that she glowed, but she kind of.
Oh, okay. So she was like that really, really ethereal.
Yeah, but she appeared solid. It was weird, and it freaked me the hell out. She turned and walked towards where the bathroom, because it was the hallway. My mother's room was right behind where she was at. My room was to her left or my right, and then to her right or my left, because I was facing her, was the bathroom, and that's where she walked towards. And when I walked in there, she wasn't there. There was nobody. I freaked the F out, called mom up. They got it. She's like, I can't, John, I just got this job, Johnny. I can't.
Can't just up and leave.
Yeah, it was, I forget exactly what happened for the rest of the night. But yeah, that was an interesting one.
So I actually had an experience in a bathroom.
At a house?
Yes, the house,
okay.
The house in Rancho on Meadow Street.
Well, I mean, I guess that's better than a public bathroom.
I think I was 9 or 10. We had just moved into the house the summer before, and this was in maybe October, November. At that time, if I went to go take a bath, I was not allowed to lock the bathroom door, because if anything happened and my parents needed to get in, like, they needed to be able to get in. So I had gone in, I had been told to go take a bath for some reason. I don't remember why. But I had gone into the bathroom. I had gone to the bathroom, washed my hands, unlocked the door, started drawing the water for the bath. And all of a sudden, the medicine cabinet flies open and the door smacks into the big mirror. And I turned around and there is a face in the mirror in the because the medicine cabinet had started to close again. It was the medicine cabinet mirror. But it was a male face, very short, dark hair. And he looked very angry. And I remember screaming and running to the door to get out, but the door wouldn't open. The door was not locked, but it wouldn't open. Like I'm turning the handle and pulling, right, and it was one of those doors that opened in to the bathroom, but it wouldn't open. My parents and middle child heard me screaming, and they all go running for the door. They're trying to push in, and they're telling me to basically like unlock the door, and I'm screaming, it's not locked. And, let me out, or get me out. And then I finally turn to the mirror, look at the face, and say, let me out. And the door flies open. I get pushed out into my mom and dad's arms. Mom basically picks me up and runs into the living room with me and sits me on the couch. Dad goes into the bathroom and is looking around for
right
anything. And, mom and middle child are trying to calm me down. Mom asks me what happened, and I'm telling her through tears and whatever I can happen to get out. And one thing that it didn't even dawn on me until a couple days ago. Mom specifically asked me, did you see a face in the mirror?
Oh, so she had seen it, likely.
And I said yes, and she asked me to describe it, but then that was it. Like she didn't take it any further than that. But yeah, that was something that like didn't even dawn on me until a couple days ago, that wait a minute, she specifically asked me this question, which means either she knew what it was or who, or just figured that maybe that was,
or experienced it.
Right. So yeah, that was a big one. It never happened again after that. Although I did have other experiences in that same house, and they all revolved around mirrors.
Mm.
We had this in our dining room, we had a fireplace with a huge mantle and a huge mirror over the mantle, and that dining room table was usually where I would do my homework. And oftentimes I was left home alone because dad worked long hours to support the family. Mom was either working overtime or she was out with her friends. And, oldest child was out of the house by then. Middle child was either working or
right
off with her friends.
Right.
So, I'd be sitting at the dining room table doing homework, and in my peripheral vision, I would see someone in the mirror walking down the hallway. Wouldn't hear anyone come in or anything. But then when I would look up in the mirror, like I would see the figure walking down the hallway. So I would get up and go down the hallway, and there's nobody there.
Mm.
And nobody responding when I say, like, Mom, Dad, that you?
Right.
So yeah, a lot of activity in that house in particular for me.
Interesting.
What about you? Like, what else do you have?
Well, there was one time I just moved into an apartment on 7th Street in Phoenix with Andrew,
His
and
mom.
yeah, and his mom. And I think her daughter was helping us. I don't think she was living at that point. She was with her boyfriend, but she was helping, and we were standing around a breakfast bar, a small one, just talking. And there was an old soda can that had been there for at least a couple hours. Like we'd finished it. One of us had finished it as we had come in
Mhm.
to look around and see, okay, so we're gonna put this stuff here, there, and set it down. So like, 2 hours later, when we're standing around talking, it's empty. There's no condensation, and it just slides across the counter. And I didn't miss a beat. I kept the conversation going, but was like, did anybody else just see that? And the ex was like, see what? But the daughter was like, yeah, I saw that. I said, okay. I want to ask him to do it again. And the daughter was like, no, don't. I'm just like, I'm going to ask him to do it again. Um, and it did move again, but not as much. But that was an interest. We just moved there.
Hmm. Do you ever have experiences at your workplaces?
Oh, all the time, dude, all the time. I've had weird shit happen at the big box place we work at.
Mm.
I've had weird stuff. I was the assistant general manager at a fast food place that has a big M, um, in a bad part of the town,
Mm.
where I had to chase people out of the building daily because they were smoking something in the bathroom, or were just too incapable of standing up to like be in a public place. Um, but using the bathroom there or in the back room at when we're closing the place and it's just me and like one other employee, or going there first thing in the morning to open at 4 a.m. It's Yeah, there's some odd things that have happened. Things just sliding across the floor, randomly. Yes, it's on wheels, but the floor is flat.
Right.
There's no reason for it to just go flying across the floor. Um, and yeah, just randomly eggs flying um, out of the because it happened to be an open case.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a flat of, I think it's 36 eggs,
Right.
and one just jumped out and went on the floor. Yeah, I've seen some
Yeah.
strange
I
things.
when I worked at the airport, um, and this actually I wasn't the only witness to. Um, I was on one end of the room processing the cash that had come through some of our restaurants, and it kept feeling like somebody was breathing down the back of my neck, like they were standing way too close. And after maybe 5 minutes of it, I finally said, "Can you please back up?
Mm,
Now, you do not need to be standing that close to me." And my two coworkers are like, "Who are you talking to?" I said, "You guys." And they're like, "We're over here." And I turned around and they were all the way on the other end of the room. Like, this is a good 50-foot room.
right,
I'm on one end, they're completely on the other end. And I'm like, "Well, then who was just over here, like breathing down my neck?" And they're like, "We're both over here."
right.
And I'm like, "Okay." And I keep working. And then after another few minutes, I stop and I turn and I'm doing circles like in my little space. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I keep feeling like somebody's breathing down my neck." And they're like, "Are you sure you're okay?" Now, one of them is also a witch. And she was like, "Okay, something's going on here." Like, she couldn't see anything. The other girl couldn't see anything. But she's like, "Okay, something's obviously happening here."
Right.
Um, I muddled through the day. And on my way home from work, I'm alone in the car, but I basically feel somebody do this with my hair.
Okay.
And I'm like, "Okay, like, stop. Like, you keep your hand. I don't know who you are. Keep your hands to yourself." Um, I get home. and I'm trying to relax, and I laid down in bed because I was starting to feel fluish, like body aching, all
Right.
that. And I just feel these ice cold hands going like this, like they're trying to get my attention, like pay attention to me. And finally, I had to reach out to the coworker, because she knew somebody who was a little bit more versed in spirit communications.
Mm.
And this person was like, "Oh, yeah, apparently you came across somebody at the airport and they attached themselves to you because they were drawn to you because of your blue light." I guess I, my soul emits a blue light that is indicative of a psychic medium. I was never trained this way. I was never trained in that, but it's apparently something that my mom and grandma also had.
Mm.
And so this spirit came across me in the airport and was like, "Oh, hey, she can help me."
Right.
Attached itself to me. And because of that, because they did it without my permission, it was making me physically ill. And so I had to have her like release this spirit from me. And during the course, she's like, "So how much work have you done with spirits?" I'm like, "None. Like, what are you talking about?"
Right.
And she's like, "Well, hasn't anyone told you you're supposed to be a medium?" And I'm like, "No, no, I don't want that. I don't.
Right.
I have enough trouble with the living. I don't need to be dealing with the dead." Um, so yeah, that I thought that was interesting. And she's like, "Because until you learn to work with it, like this is going to continue happening. They're going to be attracted to you. They're going to attach to you. So until you can learn to like help them on their way, expect it to happen more often." But since then, I haven't really had those interactions.
Right.
Um, Occasionally, one will cross my vision or bump up against me, but they're not attaching to me to get me to help them.
Right. Or your shields are working.
Um, but one thing I did find interesting also was that she said he was gray. So he didn't, like, he looked human, but he was all gray. And she said they cannot communicate.
No, the Greys cannot.
And so I
I've
was like,
run
well then,
into a few of them.
so then how am I supposed to help them? Like, if they can't talk and I can't see them,
Well, the ones that I've run
like
across have been hostile.
how am I supposed to help them?
The shadow people.
And she was like, well, like that's where you're supposed to use what you've been taught, but if you've never been taught, then you don't know how.
Right.
So yeah, that's a situation where I would defer to somebody a little bit more experienced.
So aside from that, I mean, small things, if you experience, like all the time, I'll be sitting here watching TV and not even peripherally because it's kind of in my line of sight. It's right here, not over here.
Right.
I'll see a cat walk by. Um, or now this is more peripherally from where we're sitting to like the hallway
Right.
and having one walk across or jump on the bed
Right. Oh, I
when
feel
we're
that
laying
all the
it
time.
all the time. You just feel if you had a cat or a dog, you know what it feels like when one of them jumps on the bed. Have a good night, sir.
Love you.
Um, or good night, a good morning. Sorry, it's still dark, so but be safe out there, man. Um, sorry, her son was
He's
going
going
to
to work.
work and then going to school. But
We were talking about the animals on the bed.
oh yeah, jumping on the bed. Yeah, you definitely can tell. Um, uh, and speaking of animals, I had one situation. I was in my early 20s. Um, I was in the middle of doing a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing to myself. Um, and I was renting a room from an older elderly couple. And apparently they had a little corgi that had passed just before I moved in. And I always kind of sensed, like, if I'm sitting on the bed watching my TV, um, I instinctually would bring my feet up. Like,
Mhm.
there was just something. No, no. I know that sounds ridiculous. It's not like there was a monster under the bed, but there was something that. So anyway, one night I was in the middle of doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, and I kept getting, actually feeling and hearing growls and feeling what was in effect like nips
Mhm.
at my ankle and my calves. Um, and then I had a out of body experience because I overdosed. Um, and then when I came back, I still had, it was more, instead of a nipping, it was more of a
Oh, nudging.
on my legs that were hanging over the bed. Um, and then I didn't really have any issues with it after that. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Like warning me
Right.
to not do what I was about to do, and
Right.
then was still anyway. But yeah, that was an interesting experience altogether. Not just because of the, you know, ghostly experience
Right.
with the pet, but my own seeing myself convulsing on the bed, foaming at the mouth was interesting, and then being told to come back. It's not my time yet. So anyway, um, I don't do that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
um, and I'm grateful and blessed to be alive. So
Do you ever get visited by family members?
well, so my opinion of getting visited is maybe different from, so if you've had a loved one pass and you just all of a sudden, yeah, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 months, it could be 6 years. You're like, oh, I haven't talked to Uncle Jeffo in like 3 months. I need to give him a
Yeah.
like
Mm.
to me, those moments when we think of, that grandma that we
Right.
haven't talked to in forever, or parent or whatever, um, those moments are when they're visiting us because their memory is alive. They're keeping their memory. Hey, I'm still here.
Right.
I love
I'm
you.
still here with you.
We're with you, type of thing.
Yeah, I've had actually experiences in my car driving by myself because I'm one of those people like if I'm alone in the car, I will sing along to the radio.
I
Um,
can attest to that. She doesn't
it,
have to be alone in the car.
if I'm comfortable around you, I will sing in the car too. But especially if I'm alone, um, I will sing in the car. And there was one day, it was a few months after a friend of mine, who was also a coworker, had passed away. Um, I'm not quite sure what the situation was surrounding his death, but he was found at the bottom of his swimming pool.
Mm.
Um, and he was one of the people, like when I worked at the airport, there was one office that I worked in where I was always by myself. So I was singing along to the radio. I didn't realize people could hear me. I didn't realize how thin those walls were and that people could hear me, but people took comfort in it. Like if they were having a bad day, they would go stand outside my office and listen. And he was one of those people.
Right.
And he actually told me this before he passed away because my office ended up getting moved. Um, he was like, well, yeah, anytime I was having a rough day, I would come and listen, and it would always make me feel a little bit better.
Mm.
And I'd go right back to work. But now that that's not going to be here, like I'm going to miss that
Right.
kind of thing. Um, a few months after he passed, I'm singing in the car. I'm on my way home from work, and suddenly kind of got saddened because it was like I heard I miss this.
Mm.
And then I hear my grandma say, Mija, your friend Steve, he's such a pretty boy. And I just kind of giggled and it was like, okay, so I've got two passengers with me right
Right,
now.
right.
Um, and so it was kind of heartwarming, but at the same time, like there is that emotion that, oh damn, like these are people I love and miss,
Right.
but like at least they're traveling with me right now. So it doesn't have to be a scary experience. It can be a funny experience, it can be a heartwarming experience, it could be an eye-opening experience where you come to realize something you didn't realize before. Like,
Oh, I had some in Rochester.
ooh, you've
When
told
I
me
lived in
stories about
Rochester, New
Rochester,
York,
but you got to tell me this one.
well, I got to try to I know. So I lived in the attic of the house. It was a house built in like the early 1900s.
Ooh, so
Um,
lots of history there.
yeah, lots of history. Old world wood. I mean, it was a beautiful home. My mom's best friend, Debbie, um, at the time there was a government program for homes seized
Hmm.
for whatever reason. But it needed a lot of work. She got the house for a freaking dollar, but had to
Right.
renovate it and had to show that she was doing all this stuff. And I remember ripping out the stairs and rebuilding the stairs with her. But yeah, my attic was in, I mean, my attic, my bedroom was in the attic, which was cold as hell during the wintertime. Um, but yeah, footsteps all the time, like doors opening and closing, like this typical
Right.
stuff, but like legitimate stuff. Like there's no breeze,
Right.
there's no gusts of wind. It's the attic,
Right.
and none of the windows are open. So you know, for doors to open and close and shit, and footsteps along that. Yeah, it was interesting, and I hated going into the basement in that place because it had an old boiler, kind of
Oh,
like in
in
Home
Home
Alone.
Alone.
But yeah. Anyway, if you guys have some stories, oh, were you going to say
Oh,
something?
yeah. So my high school
Mm,
that I went to actually has at least a dozen ghost stories surrounding it. Um, but in the auditorium, so there are tunnels under the school.
mm,
Um, and in where the auditorium is, in the tunnels under the school are a bunch of different storage rooms where they keep like the costumes for like the dance teams,
right, right.
the choir robes and all that. One year right before summer, right before we got out of school, the choir director had us basically putting stuff away in those storage rooms, and y'all walking around down there, you can feel the air move.
Oh yeah.
Like you can feel it. There was one time in choir class, which was on ground level. We're sitting there in class, and I'm looking at one of my best friends, and I thought she was just yawning because she was bored. But she was looking up at the ceiling, and I noticed she was kind of in that position longer than a yawn. And so I kind of just nudged her. And after class, I was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "You didn't," she's like, "How come nobody heard me screaming?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "I was sitting there screaming because I guess she was seeing something. She was seeing blood dripping from the ceiling or something." I was like, "Oh," I was like, "I thought you were yawning." I'm like, "Because that's what it looked like." And she's like, "No, I was trying to scream and nobody could hear me."
Mm.
But yeah, we have our high school has stories of people jumping from the bell tower. I think there was a girl who hung herself in the auditorium. Like there's at least a dozen ghost stories surrounding my high school.
Mm.
And
Well, Rochester has a couple too with the what's his the the dude that founded Kodak, Eastman Kodak.
Oh,
It has his the home base is Rochester. His mansion is in Rochester or the outskirts, but he supposedly killed himself at a party that he was giving and haunts the property to this day, supposedly.
see, but why haunt the place where I don't understand.
Mm,
I mean, unless there is something about that property that you want known, but just couldn't say it when you were alive, like
right.
why would you haunt a place where you took your own life?
So if you guys have some stories
We'd
and
love
want to
to hear
share
them.
them with us, we would happily share them with everybody else. So if you've got some stories of ghostly encounters or situations and experiences you've had, let us know.
Yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, we'd be happy to
I'd love to hear them.
do a part two if there's enough of them. Otherwise, you just get a good mention at the next one if it's only one or two people. But anyway, do you have is any other?
I can't think of anything else.
I know I'm gonna think because I mean 58 years old. I've got dozens and dozens of situations. I mean I know I've had an experience at the Sizzler restaurant when I worked at Sizzler as a cook. Um, like two or three in that building. Um, at a private club that's been around since the 40s in northern Michigan that I worked at for 3 years. That basement was similar to the basement you were talking about. Like,
You could feel the air.
yo, man. And you could feel that you kind of have to, it feels like you got to there's nothing there, but you pushing
Yeah,
past something. You're moving something out of the way so you can continue to walk through.
right.
But yeah, so if you guys got some stories, we'd love to hear them. Thank you for your time. We are continuing to work on the other episodes that we're researching. We may do another random video while we continue that research.
Yes,
just to continue putting stuff out.
Yes, and don't forget, if you are interested in getting entered into our tarot giveaway, you have 1 week left.
Oh yeah, that's
April
right.
22nd, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time. It closes. So go to our Instagram or Facebook page, find the post that says which deck. You have to like the comment or the post. You have to comment on the post. You have to do both, y'all. Okay. Comment with what deck you would choose for a reading, how many times to cut and shuffle the deck, and your email address. Now, again, we do understand some of our viewers and listeners are very private and may not want their email address out there for all the world to see. So you can just email us at gettingwitchypodcast@gmail.com, letting us know whether it was Instagram or Facebook that you liked and commented on. We will verify that information and get you entered into our drawing. And then on April 23rd, we will be drawing our winner.
So I got a question.
Yes, my love.
How many people have entered into it so far?
I think the last count was 5.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So y'all don't wait until the last minute. If you're interested, get entered now.
I have an idea that I'll mention off here.
Okay.
Peace out, witches.
Peace out, witches.
One love.
Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We love you. And we can't wait to see you again.
See you next time.